Element of a set is just any individual element. Subset, we talked about a lot of different subsets, like the natural numbers, the whole numbers, integers. All of those are individual, unique subsets underneath the real numbers. Empty set, there was nothing included in it. Raster notation, you're just listing it out. The finite set we talked about, finite has an ending point. Infinite set goes on. And then today, here's what we're going to be talking about. We are going to be talking about interval notation. We'll talk about this right here, interval notation. Interval notation, it's a way of writing the set of all real numbers between two endpoints. The symbols, the brackets, what I call them there, are used to include an endpoint. That's going to be key. Okay, that's where a couple people this morning were kind of making their mistake. It's just knowing what the difference is between a bracket and a parenthesis. And the symbols parentheses are used to exclude an endpoint from an interval. And again, if you look over there for examples, there's an example right there. Less than, okay, so it's not included. Just think about how you read it. Less than 3. 3 is not included in that. Whereas less than or equal to, it is included. Okay, those are the differences. The types of numbers here. So we had, there it is. Natural, whole, integers, rational, irrational. Can you give me an example of a natural number? Jack, what's an example of a natural number?
1.
1, probably the most common natural number. Yeah, everything starts at 1 for natural numbers. Whole, what do you think for whole, John? It could be. There's also one other number that's not included in natural numbers that is in whole. 0. And then, yes, you have the examples of the natural numbers as well. Good. Integers. Give me an example of an integer, Andy. -4. Yeah, our subsets keep getting larger and larger. Rational number. Sophie, what about a rational number? Rational numbers were like fractions. Anything that can be made into a fraction. What's a common fraction? 4/5. Awesome. That's a rational number. Then we had irrational number. Everybody's favorite irrational number was what, Ethan? Pi. And then all of this made up what was the real numbers. Okay? And there were some more examples that we went through. We were ordering, classifying numbers. We did that Friday. It was awesome. And here's today. Interval notation. Okay? If you look at a number line there, okay, 3 different ways that we're going to talk about how to write these interval notations, okay, based off a number line. If you see, I have the number -2 to 0, and then I have 1 all the way up, and it keeps going all the way to the right. Well, to express that with words, if you were to just read that, it's a set of numbers greater than or equal to -2. And it's greater than or equal to because it is a filled-in circle. Okay, so kind of review from algebra there. And less than 0. We say less than because it might be hard to tell from a distance, but there is an open circle there. Okay, so if you look, this one is, nope. That one's filled in. That one's open. Okay, so there is a difference between the two. And then we had or greater than or equal to 1. So if you see, that one is filled in, and then we have the arrow that goes up and up and up. Interval notation, which is what we're going to be focusing on today, well, to express that as intervals, it goes from -2 to 0. -2 has a bracket because we're including it. Okay, it was greater than or equal to, including the number. All right, then we go to 0. 0 has a parentheses because it's less than 0. I'm not including it. It's everything up to 0 except for 0. All right? And then if you look on the next one there, it's 1 to infinity. Notice how the arrows keeps going on and on and on. It's going up into infinity. Okay, so we use the infinity symbol. Anytime you're using the infinity symbol, you will always use a parenthesis. Okay, because infinity is not technically a real number, so it cannot be ended at infinity. It just goes all the way on and on and on up to infinity. Okay, so anytime you have infinity or negative infinity, which would be the far left side of our graph or the far left extreme, we're going to use parentheses. And again, it's example there. Brackets include the endpoints. Parentheses do not include the endpoints. Okay, so big difference there just between the bracket and the parentheses. And I'm going to guess if anybody were to make a mistake today, that's where the mistake will be made. It's just mixing the two up. Okay. All right, so let's see what this looks like here. So number 5, I'm going 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 6. So all the numbers from 4 to 6 here. Now looking at that, if you were to read it, it's 4 is less than or equal to. Am I going to start with a bracket or a parenthesis? What do you think, Phil?
Bracket.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the bracket. I'm starting with the bracket because I am including the number 4. It's 4 is less than or equal to. So I'm going to go from 4 to 6. And I'm going to end it with a bracket or parenthesis, Andy. I'm going to end it with a parenthesis. Boom. There's the answer, number 5. That's interval notation. It's going from 4 to 6, bracket included, parenthesis, everything up to that, excluding 6. Okay, number 6 here. Distance might be hard to tell. There's an open circle. There is a closed circle right there. I'm going to go from -1 to 6. What am I going to start with there, Sage? Am I going to start with a bracket or a parentheses? Am I including -1 or not? What's open circle mean? I'm not including it. So that means I'm going to start with a parentheses, -1 to 6. 6 is a closed, filled-in circle. John, that means I'm going to have a bracket there. -1 to 6. Interval notation. Okay. Next here, 7. There's a closed-in circle. I have open, and I have open. Now, notice, there is an arrow here. Where's that arrow technically going to, Garrett? Where do you suppose that arrow is going to? Keeps on going. Where's it going to? Anybody know? What might that keep going? Jack?
Infinity.
Negative infinity. Yeah, this one starts at -infinity technically, because it's all the way to the far, far left extreme. So it starts at -infinity with the parentheses. Anytime we use infinity, we can never use brackets. So I'm going -infinity up to -1. Oh. Negative infinity up to -1. And that's a closed circle. So, Bailey, that would be a closed circle would be bracket. Closed circle means the number is included. Bracket means the number is included as well. All right. So I have a second part here. So I'm going to have -infinity to -1. Or my second part, I'm going to go from 2 to 5. Is 2 included, Reagan? Parentheses or bracket? Very good. I'm going to go from parentheses 2 to, what do you suppose, Shane? 5 parentheses. Boom. There's your answers. Okay. Interval notation. Just ways to express this in another form. Try these 3. What do you suppose for number 8? How would that look like for number 8? Sean, what do you think? Yep.
How much 7 and 12 bracket?
Parentheses at the start. Is that what you had, right? Correct. Yep, because 7 is not included because it's less than. Okay. Number 9. How would the answer look for number 9? Garrett, what do you think?
Bracket, -5, comma, -2, parentheses, and then parentheses 1, comma, 4, parentheses.
Nice job. Interval notation. There it is. Number 10 might have been the tough one because we have 2 arrows going both ways. What do you think here, Jarrett?
I did parentheses, -infinity, and then comma, -1 bracket.
Parentheses. Yep, because it's the open circle there, so -1 is not included. It's everything up to that. Or, what's the next part then, Jarrett?
I have bracket.
Yep.
2, and then comma infinity, and then parentheses.
There it is. Right there. Awesome.